NBA players are some of the best athletes in the world. They've spent their whole lives playing basketball, countless hours of practice, games, drills, and shoot-arounds. They're trained to be sharp, focused, and always in the zone. But even the pros have their off moments. Every now and then, they make a mistake so bizarre that it feels like they're back in a pickup game at the local park. In this video, we relive some of the craziest and most memorable blunders in NBA history. Eric Bledsoe self-inbound. In 2019, Eric Bledsoe gave basketball fans a moment that will forever live in NBA blooper reels. During a game between the Milwaukee Bucks and the LA Clippers, Bledsoe made one of the most bizarre mistakes you'll ever see on a professional court. Early in the fourth quarter, instead of passing the ball inbounds like the rules and common sense dictate, Bledsoe casually started dribbling the ball onto the court as if it was a playground game. The error was so surreal, even Giannis Antetokounmpo, who was waiting for the inbound pass, was left utterly confused. The LA crowd couldn't believe their eyes and erupted into cheers, not for Bledsoe's skills, but for the sheer absurdity of the moment. Naturally, the referees weren't going to let it slide. The whistle blew, and possession was handed to the Clippers. What was Bledsoe thinking? Your guess is as good as anyone's. Maybe he was riding high on the momentum of his stellar performance. He had already scored 18 of his 20 points in the first 3 quarters. Or perhaps he just had a brief mental lapse, eager to push the game forward. Luckily for the Bucks, the gaffe didn't cost them the game, as they pulled off a 129-124 victory. Yet, there is a more head-scratcher incident that occurred on the NBA field. Kyle Lowry tried to nutmeg George Hill. In February 2020, Kyle Lowry gave NBA fans a moment to remember, or at least to laugh about. During a matchup against the Milwaukee Bucks, with George Hill draped all over him on defense, Lowry decided to pull off one of the most jaw-dropping plays of his career. Instead of going around Hill, passing the ball, or taking a shot, Lowry seemingly decided his best option was to try to go under Hill. Yes, you heard that right. The 6-time All-Star attempted to squeeze under his defender like it was a limbo contest. Unsurprisingly, the bizarre move didn't work out as planned. The refs called an offensive foul, handing the ball and the momentum over to the Bucks, who ultimately secured the win. Lowry, known for his competitive grit and basketball IQ, has a knack for making unconventional plays. This is the same guy who drew 2 charges during an All-Star game. Maybe he thought this unorthodox move could catch the Bucks off guard. Even Lowry's mom couldn't quite explain her son's intentions. Whatever the case, this wild move is now part of Lowry's highlight reel, though not necessarily for the reasons he'd prefer. Let's move on to another jaw-dropping moment of poor judgment in the NBA. Denzel Valentine takes awful shot. In April 2021, the Chicago Bulls faced the Miami Heat in a game that left fans groaning and shaking their heads, thanks to one infamous play by Denzel Valentine. With under a minute left on the clock, the Bulls were still within reach of a comeback. But then, Valentine decided to let loose an ill-advised 3-point shot from what felt like a different time zone. The ball didn't just miss, it sailed far enough to draw collective gasps and groans. That miss essentially sealed the Bulls' fate. They lost to the Heat by 5 points, and many pointed to Valentine's ill-conceived shot as the final nail in the coffin. It was a moment Bulls fans wouldn't soon forget, and not for the right reasons. After the game, Valentine explained, quote, "I had made 3 in a row before that. It was a bad shot. I just kind of got lost in the game." While it might have been an honest mistake in the heat of the moment, the fallout was brutal. Clips of the flop went viral, and fans began resurfacing old footage of Valentine's other blunders, cementing the play as a symbol of his time in Chicago. For many, the shot became the defining moment of Valentine's Bulls career, and likely contributed to his eventual departure from the team. Another unforgettable blunder caused by the heat of the moment is DeAndre Jordan's infamous mishap during a March 2015 game between the LA Clippers and the Portland Trail Blazers. DeAndre Jordan holds the ball under the basket as the game ends. With the game tied at 87 and just seconds left on the clock, the Clippers were in a prime position to secure a dramatic win. The play unfolded with 2.8 seconds left in regulation and 1.7 seconds on the shot clock. Chris Paul took the inbound pass, curled around the defense, and launched a shot that bounced off the backboard and rim. The rebound fell perfectly into the hands of DeAndre Jordan, who stood wide open under the basket with just 0.7 seconds left in the game. It should have been a simple dunk to seal the victory, but Jordan, mistaking the shot clock buzzer for the game-ending buzzer, froze in place, holding the ball as if the opportunity had vanished. Chris Paul, visibly exasperated, yelled at Jordan to go for the shot, but by the time Jordan realized what was happening, it was too late. To make matters worse, there appeared to be a clock malfunction. The shot clock stopped at 0.7 seconds instead of ringing out properly, adding to the confusion. Despite this, Jordan had the ball in prime position to end the game, but the chance slipped away. The game went into overtime and the Blazers capitalized on the Clippers' misstep, ultimately securing the win. Let's move on to another basketball moment that's so baffling that it lives rent-free in fans' minds till now. James Harden retires mid-game. During a game between the Brooklyn Nets and the Detroit Pistons, Harden delivered a moment in 2019 that immediately went viral and left everyone scratching their heads. The play started innocently enough, a routine pass near half court that somehow went awry. The ball began slowly rolling towards the back court, bouncing lazily as the crowd murmured in anticipation. Harden, standing near the timeline, had plenty of time to react. All he had to do was grab the ball and take the backcourt violation. It wouldn't have been ideal, but it would have stopped the Pistons from an easy score. But Harden just stared at it. Standing frozen, hands on hips, he watched the ball roll like it wasn't his problem anymore. Maybe he thought the whistle had already blown. Maybe he was just done at that moment. Whatever was going through his head, it clearly didn't involve urgency. Unfortunately for the Nets, the Pistons were wide awake. A Detroit defender saw the opportunity, sprinted towards the rolling ball, and scooped it up like he'd found buried treasure. Harden didn't move an inch. The defender easily laid it in for 2 points, while the crowd erupted in shock. Even Steve Nash looked stunned, his face a mix of disbelief and frustration. Harden, for his part, barely reacted. He glanced back, shrugged, and casually jogged down the court like nothing unusual had happened. But that moment, Harden standing still as the ball and game momentum rolled away, became a viral sensation, instantly turning into a meme that fans still reference today. Harden's stint with the Nets ended in 2022, but this play remains one of the strangest moments of his career. Then we have one that certainly belongs in the Blunder Hall of Fame. Norris Cole and Hassan Whiteside's embarrassing inbound turnover. With under a minute left in a tight game between the Miami Heat and the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Heat were trailing 101-100. Kevin Martin had just hit a go-ahead jumper for the Timberwolves, and the Heat were looking to regain the lead. The game's momentum was hanging by a thread until Miami's point guard Norris Cole made one of the most bizarre mistakes of his career. Instead of simply inbounding the ball and working to score, Cole added an unexpected twist. He retrieved the ball from the baseline and passed it to Hassan Whiteside, who was positioned underneath the hoop. So far, so good. But then, in an inexplicable moment of confusion, Cole told Whiteside to step out of bounds and inbound the ball to him again. Whiteside followed his instructions, stepping out of bounds, and tossed the ball back to Cole. That's when disaster struck. Since Whiteside was out of bounds when he touched the ball, it was ruled a turnover. The error, however, was clearly Cole's. He was the one who made the odd request, directing his teammate to commit the violation. Moving on to another moment that was cringeworthy in an otherwise productive game for Glenn Davis. Glenn Davis missed layup. In what should have been a solid highlight for Glenn Big Baby Davis in 2011, his performance in a critical game between the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat quickly took a turn. Davis had been playing well, contributing 16 points in the Celtics' 85-82 victory. But one moment from the second quarter would overshadow his efforts. After stealing the ball from Dwayne Wade, Davis found himself with an open path to the basket, poised for an easy fast break layup. But as he went up for the shot, he just couldn't get high enough and missed the wide open layup. To make matters worse, he collided with Chris Bosh while trying to recover, knocking him to the ground and committing a foul in the process. The Celtics bench, visibly embarrassed by the sequence, couldn't even bear to watch and covered their faces with towels. We have another moment many fans and players would prefer not to forget in 2011. DeMarcus Cousins' terrible inbound pass. This moment is a classic example of why rookies might not always be trusted with the most critical tasks in the game. With just seconds remaining on the clock, the Atlanta Hawks were clinging to a 2-point lead over the Sacramento Kings, and the Kings had a chance to either tie or win. In what should have been a simple inbound pass, DeMarcus Cousins, then a rookie, was tasked with getting the ball to a teammate for a final play. But instead of a well-placed pass, Cousins launched the ball way too high, sending it sailing over everyone on the court and straight into the stands. The turnover effectively ended the Kings' chances of pulling off a dramatic finish, and the Hawks went on to secure the win. Which one of these moments do you find most cringeworthy? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel for more.